Welcome to Understanding Buddhism in America. My name is Mike, and today I'm recording live from downtown St. Petersburg, Florida, in Vinoy Park. Because it's a beautiful day, the sky is blue, I've got a few clouds on the horizon, I'm sitting in the shade, I'm enjoying this really lush green park, and I'm looking out into the ocean. So really, it couldn't get any better than this. This is awesome. It is a tad bit windy. You may hear some joggers jogging by, or some bikers biking by, or some cars rolling by. But that really makes me feel like I'm in the middle of everything anyway, and what could be more zen than that? And today I'd like to ask you a question. Now, it's more of a contemplation than a question that needs an answer, but it's fun to think about. So here's my question. What is the point of existence? Now, I don't mean this in a personal sense, like, why do I exist? What I mean is, why does existence exist? The easy answer, essentially, is because it can. It's the nature of existence to exist, just as it's my nature to be human. But it seems, though, that we live in a reality built upon nothingness, or a void. Nothingness and somethingness fit together rather perfectly, like the yin and yang. But according to the laws of physics and nature, nothingness is what everything eventually comes to. Everything moving will stop. Everything living will die. Water flows down the path of least resistance until it stabilizes into still water. As a human, I can see that life is energy. I think and I talk and I use all of my senses because of neurons that are shooting through my body. You could argue that a human isn't unlike the Frankenstein monster, struck with electrical energy that allows one to function. Luckily, we don't have to fly a kite in a thunderstorm in order to be born, but our energy is transferred to us by our parents and our food and our water, and this goes back to the dawn of life. So perhaps the reason existence exists is to transfer energy back and forth, which refreshes itself with new life and discards itself with death. But then, what is the point of that? Why are we keeping this energy going? Every electrician can tell you that the basic state of energy is zero. Nothing. Off. It takes the effort of a power source to turn it on, along with a circuit that allows it to flow. Without a proper circuit, it just shorts out. So it seems much easier for nothing to be rather than something to be. But, as I talked about before, we had, in theory, a Big Bang. Out of nothingness, somethingness came into being. Could this all just be a shorted circuit? A one-time fluke that just happened to allow the conditions of existence? If you imagine all the stars in the universe expanding from a single point, well, it really does look like a bunch of sparks, doesn't it? If that's the case, it seems the whole point of existence is really just to fizzle out. Now, one of my favorite TV shows is a science fiction cartoon called Futurama. I remember one particular episode where the mad scientist character creates a time machine, only he's not the greatest scientist, so it only goes forward in time. An accident happens and the characters travel thousands of years into the future without a way back. After viewing all the crazy things that the future has in store for the planet Earth, this group of characters decides it's time to crack open a six-pack of beer and hit the fast-forward button and watch the universe end. Amazingly, after the sun dies and the earth crumbles away and all life everywhere is extinct, a second Big Bang happens. This follows the theories known as the Big Crunch or the Big Bounce, that basically state once the universe is done expanding, it will start condensing. The Big Bang Theory states that unimaginable heat caused the expansion of the universe, so once that heat is gone and all of the stars have burnt out, the unimaginable cold will, like with air and water and freezing temperatures, condense the universe until it reaches a point as dense as it was right before the first Big Bang. Then, another Big Bang may actually happen. These are theories dealing with events so large, so ancient, and so futuristic that the variability of it all is huge, but if we're going to ask why does existence exist, we need to analyze existence as a circuit. The Big Bang was the on switch to existence, energy, and ultimately life. Whenever you turn on a light in your house, there's a slight spike in energy. This spike is small enough and quick enough that it doesn't affect your power bill, But perhaps the Big Bang was a surge quite like this. If the Big Bang is a recurring process, it means that all existence works as waveforms. First, there's power. This is the Big Bang. Then there's current, and this is energy and eventually life. And then I have to assume this energy is being used for a purpose to energize a circuit. And then dissolution, being grounded out, the big crunch. If you've ever seen a wave of electricity on an oscilloscope, then you can imagine this as the initial hill, which always ends where it started, at zero or off. Existence and non-existence work together to produce energy. But what is this energy for? If all of existence exists as a wave energy, starting at the beginning of the Big Bang, right up until the very last moment before the next Big Bang, before the next universe is born, what are we energizing? If we're willing to take all the steps we already took, we might as well take a leap of faith while we're at it and ask if it's God. Perhaps the reason why existence exists is to power the almighty circuitry of God. Of course, this idea of God is much more abstract than anything we're used to talking about. It's almost more like a machine or a computer, creating energy to sustain itself. If you're good with cars, this may remind you of an alternator. Alternators convert the mechanical energy of your car to electrical energy, which recharges your battery and your ignition system. So, maybe that's the purpose. Existence might just be a recycling and recharging of energy to keep a circuit going. But here's the fun part. What in the world is that circuit for? I mean, there's always another layer, so do you think we're powering God? Without the alternating current of existence and non-existence, do you think God would power down? Or maybe that's too arrogant. Imagine if this energy of existence essentially is a firing neuron, and what our perspectives would call a giant's body. I mean, really, he could have just stubbed his toe, and we're the firing neuron that's shooting to his brain to tell him to say, ouch. And as soon as we hit that, we just won't exist anymore. It could be anything. Eventually, the question of why existence exists has become, what can someone use energy for? And the answer is everything. Energy is universal. The possibilities are endless. They're infinite. We could be any one of these things, or we could be every one of these things. But it really is fun to think about, isn't it? Thanks for listening to Understanding Buddhism in America. My name is Mike, and if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at understandingbuddhisminamerica@gmail.com. If you'd like something addressed on the air, I'm going to be doing a question and answer podcast in the next couple of weeks, and I could definitely use your help with that. So think of something good to ask me, and I'll gladly use it. As for my next podcast, I'm going to be starting a series on the Dhammapada.